So, you're an entrepreneur. Congrats! And according to Google, being an entrepreneur means you're a person who organizes and operates a business who takes on greater than normal financial risk in order to do so. If you're someone who is operating a business of any kind, then you probably wanted to give up a time or two. Is that you? This video was inspired by one of my students in my coaching program who reached out to me feeling ready to completely throw in the towel and give up. So I want to take some time to chat today about what to do when you want to give up in business. Hi, I'm Lindsay. I teach women how to make money online using their creative skills. And this situation is extremely close to my heart because I can tell you from personal experience, I have wanted to give up many times in my business, more times than I can count on my fingers. I have been there and I felt hopeless. I have asked myself, what's the point? I have wondered if I was on the right path. I have cried out asking for a sign from the universe for a next step. So what do I do in those moments? And what can we all realize so that when these moments occur, we have something to hold on to? I think we need to start with the why. Why we typically feel like giving up in the first place. Why does anyone give up? Well, if we think back to when we were kids and our parents wouldn't let us quit a sport that we signed up for, right? Why did we typically want to quit? Well, one reason is that it's just not fun anymore. And in the case of sports and with kids, I truly believe that if you aren't having fun doing it, it's not worth it. And I personally want to just let kids be kids as long as possible. Controversial, probably. When it comes to business, I'm not sure that this is the philosophy that I totally agree with. On one hand, I think that when you first start a business, it needs to be something that you're already passionate about, right? I always talk about that. I'm always telling my students that lead with your passion and not with the trends, right? You've heard me say this before. However, there is a saying that says, even eating pie becomes a job when you have to do it every day. Well, for those of us who already didn't like pie as a dessert, this sounds like a job right up front. This saying highlights how even enjoyable activities can become tedious or not enjoyable when done repeatedly or as part of our routine or our jobs. But I think what people don't realize is that this is exactly why so many people don't achieve amazing, crazy results. We see other people who are killing it and we think, oh, there's just something that that person has that I don't. When actually, they're just normal people. But they decided that even when something wasn't necessarily super fun anymore, they still continued to do it because they were committed to the outcome that they set out to complete. And there's a question that I heard one time that has really stuck with me, and that is, are you committed or are you just interested in the goal that you're looking to achieve? Because if you're just interested, then you might dabble in something. You might try it out, do it until you're bored, do it because you saw instant results. But then when you aren't seeing instant results, if you aren't feeling completely happy, and if you're not just in it for the long haul, then you might just move on and do something else. And in my mind, that's a hobby, right? You can do something a few times a year, have a great time, and as soon as it's not serving you anymore, you just put it down and then you come back to it again when you feel like it. And that's totally fine. However, if we're talking about it being a business that you're serious about, then you need to be committed. Because when the going gets tough, when you don't see the instant results, when you're in it for the long haul, you're going to stick it out. And there's a great quote in one of my favorite books, Atomic Habits. Have you read it? It says, fall in love with boredom, fall in love with repetition and practice. Fall in love with the process of what you do and let the results take care of themselves. And he references a lot in those books about sports stars like Michael Jordan, for instance, who practiced all the time. And it's not that every one of those practices were fun or easy, right? In fact, a lot of them were hard and grueling, but since he was committed to a bigger outcome and not just interested in basketball as a hobby, he continued on and saw huge success. So I think that's the first question we need to ask ourselves when we get into this feeling of quitting, which is, am I interested or am I committed? And there's no judgment either way, but there's a decision you kind of have to make. Well, what's another reason why we might give up on something? Well, we might give up if we aren't seeing the results that we want. I have been in this place again and again in my business, and it's usually because of one of two reasons, okay? So this is gonna be kind of long and drawn out, but the first is that I don't know the right next steps to take to see the growth or results that I want. And the second is that I'm not taking responsibility and doing the things that I need to do in order to create the results that I want. Okay, so let's break this down. The first one, where I don't know the right steps. Maybe I've tried a few things, throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, and I have come up short. In that case, the number one thing that I always turn to is to a coach or a mentor to get me over that hump. Because when you're sitting there not knowing what to do next, why not follow someone has gone before you? In the book Think and Grow Rich, he talks about the power of the mastermind. This is when two or more people come together to form ideas. And I find that sometimes when I end up joining a new program, getting a coach, or surrounding myself with like-minded people, I start to get new ideas popping into my mind, even when I'm not consulting with the group or with the coach. I truly believe that's because we change our frequency when we open ourselves up to new possibilities and new environments. And when we're all alone and we're stuck, we find ourselves wallowing in self-pity, and we sometimes just can't get out of that space. Not only can a coach or a mentor tell you what to do next, but they can simply encourage you. I recently had a student come to me and tell me that they were thinking of giving up. I mentioned that before. And we talked through, maybe there's other things going on in your life that's making you feel pressured. And that's what's, making you feel that way. And when you have someone else to talk things through like that, to believe in you and see your potential, it can be such a game changer to go from quitting to starting fresh. And then the other thing that I mentioned is that we're not taking responsibility. We have so many excuses about why it's not possible for us. For example, here's one that I get caught up in sometimes, we all do, which is, I don't have enough time. And believe you me, I have been there. But I have also grown my entire business with a full-time job and being a mom. And I saw something on Instagram recently that said, the only difference between rich and poor people is the way they use their time. I thought that was really profound. So if you're thinking of giving up because you aren't seeing the results, ask yourself if you're taking personal responsibility for the goal that you want to accomplish. Are you making the time, for example, for your goal? Are you putting in the work? And if not, you'll need to look at your habits and the way that you're using your time and ask yourself if you're making excuses or not. That's why I love the books that I've talked to you about already today. And there's one more that I recently just read that I want to tell you about, which is called The Compound Effect. And it's all about how you can see big results over time. And it gives you example and after example of people who continued on even after they felt like quitting. They began to see the results with this idea of the compound effect. And it says in the book, the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is not intelligence or opportunity. It's their willingness to keep going when things get tough. If you're in a place in your business today where you're thinking about quitting, and if not today, save this video for when you do, because as a business owner, we all have those days. But if you're there now, I want you to think about the things that we've talked about today. Ask yourself, are you truly committed to your goal? And find yourself a mentor to help you get to that next level. And then lastly, realize that your personal choices and habits, including the choice to not give up, is the way that you're going to see success. I hope that if you're thinking about quitting today, you'll go have a good cry in the shower, like I always do, because you need to always feel those feelings, right? But then I want you to come back tomorrow with a fresh perspective and see if you can see what it would look like if you kept going. Create that vision for yourself of being one of those people who is successful, and ask yourself, who would I have to be in order to see success? And then you need to start living from the place of your future self who already has that thing that you want. And you're going to not only not give up, you're going to start seeing results that you want. So I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.